Mrs. Mack, why don't you open the present we got you?
It's a Delta Alpha Kappa tradition. We have to open Billy's present first.
Billy Len's the guy that used to live in this house?
Did they ever find out why he killed his family?
Christmas is here, bringing good cheer to young and old.
There's someone in the house.
I'm explaining a film from 2006 titled Black Christmas. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the content. This film starts on Christmas Eve at a women's hostel and they all gather with their families that night. However, due to snowfall and expected extreme weather that will hit the city, they are forced to celebrate Christmas at the hostel with other fellow hostel residents. How is the continuation of the story of this film? The scenario opens with the splendor and glittering lights of Christmas night, followed by a woman called Claire alone in a hostel. Claire saw something unusual in her dormitory, then someone arrived and murdered her. The action shifts to a jail, where a prison guard is seen bringing meals to the convicts. Soon later, someone dressed as Santa Claus arrived, and he noticed a sign on the door that read, Billy Lenz. Billy's entire history appears to be known to Santa Claus, as the prison guard and Santa Claus trade stories of Billy, who slaughtered his own family on Christmas Eve. It seems that the murder case committed by Billy is already very well known in that place, but the people there already think that Billy has died. Then they gave Billy a plate of food. A few moments later, the prison guard saw a box that Billy had taken out of his cell room. The prison guard was curious about the box and took it. After opening it, there was writing on a piece of paper that read, "I'll be home for Christmas." Curious about this sentence, the prison guard approached Billy's chamber and saw a wall that had been broken down. The prison guard then looked at the hole and concluded that Billy had escaped through it. However, the prison guard's suspicions were incorrect. Billy was obviously behind him and quickly killed the prison guard. Billy, who was subsequently freed from jail, had murdered someone dressed as Santa Claus.
You know, Santa's not one to keep a girl waiting.
Then stole the suit and used it as his disguise. The action then shifts to a hostel with the ladies and the matron. Then a woman named Megan was seen, who invited her friends to get together, but apparently Megan's friends ignored her. Then Megan's friends returned downstairs to gather. Not long after, Megan heard something, then went to the source of the sound. These women had no idea Megan had been murdered since they were supposedly discussing and trading stories about the renowned Billy Maniac at the time. Because they are not local to the area, some of them do not believe in the urban legend. Not long after, Heather, one of the ladies, received a phone call. When she answered it, there was no answer, and it appeared to be a joke. But then the guy on the phone said something unusual, and Heather looked worried and instructed one of them to call the cops. But Lauren felt it was simply a Christmas Eve hoax until a woman called Eve emerged and gave Heather a Christmas present. Meanwhile, the dormitory mother who saw Eve coming, tried to find her a Christmas present with her name on it. But after finding a present for Eve and about to give it to her, it turns out that Eve just disappeared. The dormitory mother asked the women who were there about where Eve had gone, but they didn't know either. They proceeded to celebrate Christmas Eve, but a few seconds later, the phone called again, and Megan's phone number appeared on the screen of the phone. Surprisingly, the voice heard stating, "I will kill you all," was the voice of a guy. Kelly and Heather rushed to check on Megan's room, afraid and worried. When Kelly yelled in astonishment when she discovered a man in Megan's room, Heather quickly checked. Kyle, Kelly's boyfriend, appears to be the man. Kyle crept in to meet Kelly after noticing Megan's bedroom window was open. Kyle also explained, if he entered through the dormitory door, the matron would definitely not allow him. Then these women asked Kyle about Megan's whereabouts, but Kyle didn't know anything about that either. Because Kyle sneaked in through Megan's bedroom window, the women became suspicious of him, that he might be the cause of Megan's disappearance. The women told Kyle they had received a call from Megan's cell number, but the voice on the phone also said Billy's name. Kyle was astonished when he heard Billy's name and tried to explain everything. He claimed that the hostel they were staying at was formerly home to Billy and his family. Kyle also told them all they needed to know about Billy. In 1970, a newborn boy called Billy was born. Billy, on the other hand, was born with a bizarre condition that causes all of his skin to become yellow. Billy's parents were estranged and even despised each other. Billy was clearly not the child his mother desired, he despised Billy. Every time Billy's mother looked at him, she saw the face of the husband she despised. 5 years later, Billy has grown into a boy. Billy really likes and is obsessed with Santa Claus. One Christmas Eve he is seen hanging out with his parents. His mother, who was an alcoholic, always scolded and cursed Billy and his father. Then his father Billy told his beloved son not to listen to what his mother said. Billy's father then told him to go to the attic, because there his father had prepared a surprise for Billy. Billy also looked happy and rushed to see his Christmas present. Apparently his father gave him a telescope to see Santa Claus in the sky. Billy's father gave it to him because he liked Santa Claus, but as he opened it, he heard his mother and father shouting, and he also heard that his mother had brought her mistress to his house. Billy's father was obviously upset and flung the man away, but Billy heard his father's voice wincing in agony at the time. Billy, who was interested in what had happened to his father, checked. Billy glanced beneath the door. Billy saw that father was being murdered by mother and the guy with whom she was having an affair. Billy is now lonely because his father abandoned him, and no one loves him anymore. It was seen that his mother and the man he was having an affair with were digging the ground to bury Billy's father, but they saw Billy peeking. Those who realized this immediately chased after him. Billy, who was still a child and didn't understand anything, tried to save himself. After that incident, Billy never returned to his house. Several years later, a child was born as a result of Billy's mother's infidelity, named Agnes. In 1991, it was seen that Billy was an adult and was using a telescope. He used his telescope to take a look outside. Then he saw a complete and loving family. When Billy saw this, he had a flashback to his terrible background. Here, it appears that Billy has discreetly returned to his house. Meanwhile, Agnes has matured into a little girl, and her mother is shown giving her a Christmas present. But when Agnes stated she truly wanted Santa Claus, her mother, who had heard the words, immediately remembered Billy, who was infatuated with Santa Claus. Then Billy's mother received a call, which appeared to be from Billy, who stated that Agnes was also Billy's sister. When Billy's mother heard it, she grew agitated and went to check on Agnes, but she wasn't there. Then Billy's mother and Agnes' father rushed to find their daughter. How shocked they were when they finally found Agnes, who was being brutally killed by Billy. Agnes' father, of course, doesn't accept this, but Billy's grudge can't be stopped anymore. Agnes' father, who was having an affair with Billy's mother, was immediately killed, and indeed Billy was blinded by anger and revenge. He even killed his own mother. After he finished slaughtering his family, innocently, Billy made food from human flesh, which was his own family. Not long after, the police came and arrested Billy without a fight. Kyle also informed Agnes that the girl had been saved by physicians and had been adopted by another family. After finishing the narrative about Billy's family, they heard a voice downstairs. It turned out that Lee was seeking for Claire, her sister. They all stated Claire wasn't here, but they didn't understand Claire had died. Then Lee noticed a gift with Billy's name on it. They were astonished since they had gone through the gifts one by one and none of them had Billy's name on them. When the present was unwrapped, it was discovered to contain an Agnes doll. After that suddenly the dormitory lights went out instantly. Here you can see that Kelly was kicking out Kyle, her boyfriend, because apparently Kyle was acting indecent towards Kelly. Meanwhile, Lauren was seen vomiting, apparently she was not feeling well. Then Lauren rested until she fell asleep, while Dana came out of the hostel to get some fresh air by walking around, but Dana heard a strange sound and went to the source of the sound. Unfortunately, Dana is suddenly beaten and killed by the psychopath Billy.
Crazy bitch, I can see your breath.
Not long after, they received a call from Dana. They became terrified when they realized the voice was not Dana's. They went to find Dana, but instead of her corpse, they discovered Megan's severed head. They noticed Billy, the psychopath, was already near them and phoned the police, who arrived in 2 hours since the snow was too deep owing to the strong weather. Then they discuss whether to go to the police station in the middle of a blizzard or wait for the cops to arrive in another 2 hours, all while psychopath Billy is lurking around them. Heather and the matron insisted on going to the police station, while the others decided to stay at the hostel while waiting for help. Heather and the matron got out of the car, but when the matron was cleaning the snow-covered windshield, she saw a bleeding Heather in the car. The dormitory mother was shocked, unfortunately the snowflakes fell on her head. Meanwhile, Kelly and her buddy were suspicious after seeing the automobile engine running but not moving and proceeded to inspect the vehicle. The scene shifts to Melissa, one of the hostel's tenants who appears terrified. Mel was instantly restrained by Billy, but although she tried to fight back, she couldn't accomplish much because her strength was significantly inferior to that of the psychopath Billy. Mel died as a result of Billy's neck cancer, and we recently discovered that the person who murdered Mel was Agnes, Billy's half-sister. Meanwhile Kelly finds a lifeless Lauren. In the midst of the panic Kyle arrives. Finally the three of them work together, to fight the psychopath to the last drop of blood. They then went to the attic to look for weapons, but when the door was opened, Kyle was immediately held captive and then killed. Kelly and Lee, who tried to fight back, were finally overwhelmed by Agnes, who was like a madman. Agnes lit a candle and showed all the bodies she had killed, now leaving only Kelly and Lee. Lee, who was terrified, eventually fled down a hole. However, Kelly had no time to go and was forced to confront and battle Agnes, while Billy was spotted attempting to apprehend Kelly. Kelly was pinned between the walls while Agnes dropped to the bottom floor. Kelly couldn't decide whether to go up or down since Agnes was waiting for her below and Billy was waiting for her above. Then Lee, who was hiding behind the wall, attempted to demolish it. Finally, with Lee's assistance, Kelly survived and then burnt the psychotic siblings. Kelly and Lee had finally escaped the psychopath's grasp. The scene moves to a mortuary, where a nurse is seen delivering the bodies of Billy and Agnes. But suddenly, Billy is still alive, and of course kills the nurse. It is also shown that Agnes is still alive, while Lee and Kelly are supporting each other, while being treated in the hospital ward. Kelly then proceeded to have an X-ray, leaving Lee alone in the treatment room. A few moments later, Lee heard a peculiar sound and assumed Billy was still alive. Lee quickly ran after Kelly to tell him this, but when she got, what she discovered was not Kelly, but Agnes, the psychopath. Meanwhile, after being left by the nurse, Kelly discovered something strange in the room, and the door was immediately shut. It was discovered that Agnes had successfully entered the room, and with the remaining energy, Kelly attempted to fight back with a shock device. Kelly finally managed to kill Agnes, not long after Billy appeared, so there was a fierce fight between the two of them. Long story short, Kelly also manages to kill the psychopath Billy, and the film ends. That's all the recap. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, don't forget to give a like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Your support would be appreciated. I hope to see you next time.